Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Imam Muhammad Musri, the President and Senior Imam of the Islamic Society of Central Florida. And I want to welcome you to this very special meeting with my dear brother and Imam and friend, Imam Hatim Hamidullah, the leader of the Masjid al-Haq in downtown Orlando. Imam, welcome.
Alhamdulillah wa assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
So we have been discussing, as imams, as we witness these historic events taking place all around us, since the tragic murder of George Floyd and the subsequent protests and the, confrontations between protesters and police, and it did not die. Even just a couple of days ago, another tragic, shooting by police of Brother Jacob in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we always wonder, I wonder, as a Muslim, as an Imam, how much do we really understand the struggle that you and your ancestor had, and where we are in history. And a lot of people like me don't understand really the complexity of this issue and say, why is there's these protests? What's wrong? Why are they angry? Because honestly, we don't understand. So I know that you are going to start, inshallah, a series of educational videos with various topics and various guests to explore and to break down this for us, make it simple for us to understand. So today I want to first thank you for taking on such a task, very important. And second is to kind of give us and the viewers highlights of the topics that you're going to cover, so we can kind of prepare ourselves for it. So give me first your assessment as an African American in America today in 2020 of where are we? Are we really far different, say, from 50 years ago when there were protests and marches by Dr. King and Malcolm X and all of those civil rights leaders?
Yeah, so again, thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity for this venue. And again, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yeah, so this whole situation in regards to systematic racism in the United States of America has been going on, as many know, for a very long time. And it was from my understanding and being involved in this environment for all my life, I've come to the conclusion that it is systematic. It is systematic, and it's like some people think that race, for us to try to get over it, we should get over it, that kind of thing. It's not that simple. It's not 1 and 1 equals 2, 2 and 2 equals 4. It's not like that. It's more like a trigonometry question.
So and that's very, very important point that I want you to kind of break it down, because I heard this statement from many people who said, why don't they just get over it?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like easy for me to say that, but why is it not easy to say just get over it? Can you really get over it?
Yeah, so, that's the reason why, and I'm going to preface all of this with my observation on what can really get us out of this kind of situation as a people. And I'm specifically African Americans now, and others too. The only thing that has really put a clear vision on how to handle the situation, as I would say, victims of that traumatic situation that we went through here in the United States, is an organized, focused, God-fearing instead of man-fearing life. And that life for me is Islam. It's Islam as taught by our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Quran that he received, and that revelation that we practice. So for me, that is a big relief. So as
you would say, Al-Islam to you is the true freedom from enslaving your mind or body.
Yes.
Because of Islam, no one can, now
continue a systematic approach toward my spirituality, my intellectuality, anything. Because what Islam does, it gives me my spiritual foundation, intellectual endeavors based upon those things that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has revealed in the Quran. And I wanted to say that on the front end, because we have many of our brothers and sisters who have tried to, in a sense, go back in time and try to find exactly where we came from and this, that, and the other. That's good. The history is good. I love history. But I think that, we're in the present tense. We're not in the past tense, So if we acknowledge the past and look around, see, because that's the other thing, people, a lot of times don't really know where to go. They don't know exactly how to think. We're not comfortable, and I'm speaking as an African American. We're not comfortable in this environment. Just to go out and drive to work or go to the market. We're not comfortable, and because we're not comfortable, we have that fear. That fear is always there. It's always there. That something is going to happen. Something may just spark something just out of nowhere, like what has happened to George Floyd and our other brothers and sisters out here.
The start you're saying is to kind of overcome this feeling of being victimized by becoming, as a Muslim, knowing that Allah is
that's
in
right.
charge.
Yeah, so Allah gives the comfort, and it's a comprehensive kind of comfort.
Very good.
So I think that my series that I plan to have is are going to cover the trauma because if we don't know what happened, if people don't know what actually happened, they can look at a movie, or they can even cry during the movie or whatever. But to really know what really happened, what caused this problem, and the historical backdrop of knowing how to look at the problem and unravel the problem for the individual, for the husband and wife and his family. People will say, well, just sweep it under the bridge. Well, it's always going to come back if you don't take care of it, and that's from the top down. That's from from my perception, from the government itself that was the sponsor. We call this the original sin of the United States of America, slavery, Yeah. So,
and to kind of confirm what you're saying, when I watched the movie Malcolm X, I did see this transition when Malcolm embraced Islam, went for Hajj, came back, and he was able to not only overcome his feeling of I'm a victim, but also to get rid of a feeling of hatred towards, say, white people, because he did encounter white people, white Muslims, blonde hair, blue eyes from Europe in the Hajj. And he started understanding what you're going to describe, the systemic roots, problems within the system that systemically discriminate and disenfranchise African Americans. Now, that is where I would say always, if we go to the doctor, first step is for the doctor to diagnose the problem before prescribing the medicine.
Exactly.
So I know you came to conclude that Al-Islam is medicine.
Yes.
Now, for many people still, like you said, they don't understand the trauma you're talking
Yeah,
about. They don't
yeah.
understand the struggle, the many years of tears. Um, we're not going to go into it,
Yes.
but I'm interested in some teasers. Tell me some of the topics.
Yeah.
What kind of, why would you say there's systemic racism?
Yeah. So, okay. So I want to go to the Bible if I could,
Sure.
because I was a bona fide qualified Christian for a number of years up into my teens, before I found Islam proper, alhamdulillah, according to the Quran and the Sunnah. So in the Injil, there's a verse that says, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge." So as going back to Malcolm, as long as Malcolm was exposed to a book, a dictionary, an encyclopedia, something or whatever like that, he was able to grow. If you notice, we take Malcolm for an example, as an excellent example, that the more he engaged with intellectual conceptualization of situations, words, history, and things of this nature, then he began to change, And Malcolm is a microscopic example, in a sense, of what every African American male and female should go through. I'm saying they must. I can't speak for everybody, but I think that we should go through an educational evolution, because after all, the situation was and still is traumatic. That's the word that I'm using. It's very traumatic. A traumatic experience is not something light. You're talking about compacted years, 400 some odd years, more or less, of day-to-day situations that took place before slaves were so-called freed, in 1864, 1865. This is before that. Then after that, the reoccurring, acts of, violence and different things and stuff like that. So all of this compacted, and then looking back and then looking to the date of the so-called freedom, and that's a whole nother story behind that. And then projecting from there into the present tense with what is still going on, we're looking at different aspects. So knowledge is the key, knowledge is the key. So knowledge in what areas for us, from what perspective for us? Knowledge of self, who we are really, so our situation is, how has Allah, again, described us? Because the Bible describes, and even in the Bible or the Injil, it does, when it starts talking about black and white, it's not talking about people. It's talking about darknesses of the mind, darkness of the heart. It's the same way with the Quran. It's not talking about a physical skin color. It's talking about situational circumstances that either illuminate someone, give them light, or give them gloom. So it's a situational thing. So if we know what happened to us, back to the series, if we know what happened to us, and we want to really actually dig deep and expand on it a little bit, so we can have this series kind of like, get to the point, but we want to know really what happened, and then if we know what happened, then we can know how to best address it, and then identify individuals in our community, locally, statewide and nationally, and even globally, who has addressed these situations from the historical aspect, history, from the economical, biases that exist in this society, and from the social interactions that people have, and how some people have their mind made up about who we are before they even see us. Before the encounter, the mind is already made up. So, and then you have the reverse racism. So from one extreme to the other, and we have to talk about all of those things. And we have professionals in these United States of America that have that their skill set, their educational skill set is specific so specifically in these areas that need to be addressed. So
So you're
wealth-wise,
saying that
education, and all of that.
the education is the key to really understand, which I agree, because I tell you, I need to be educated about this history and this experience. And many people, when they go into social studies in schools or books like that, they think, oh, okay, we
Yeah.
know all about it now.
Yeah.
But is it, in your opinion, a fair assessment that the textbooks in
Yeah.
schools really give
No doubt
full-
about it. And again, I'm just going to cut to the chase. Systemic racism. This
even
is,
in the books?
yeah, even in the educational system itself, not just in the daras or the class itself, but in the tests as well. The tests they give at the end. So what I'm
Because
saying,
I remember, when the movie about these astronauts going to the moon,
sure,
about these ladies,
Yeah.
African American ladies, who are the mathematicians who
Yeah.
were calculating,
absolutely,
that nobody
knew.
gave them credit, nobody knew
Right.
until like 50 years later.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
incredible how much is hidden
Yeah.
in plain sight.
So from that, as a sample,
Uh-huh.
you can imagine how much was covered up,
Yes.
of the history and what was not told. So it was selective, so the things that were told to early generations after slavery, etc., then those things that were told were those things that were discussed behind closed doors, so that the impact would not be so great, and there will still be an element of intellectual control, not to speak of spiritual control.
And it denies young people to see someone who looks like them be a hero, or be an inventor, or be a business leader, or be a
Right.
politician. So that impacts how much they can dream for
Yes.
themselves.
Yeah.
And I read recently about how the superheroes were all, white.
Exactly.
Until recently they introduced, one
Yeah.
superhero who
Yeah.
is African.
So it's all reconciliation. It's all about reconciliation, and how the industry, because that's part of the industry. If the industry wants to be successful, I'm talking about now theater, sensation, and all of that, they're quicker to balance the scales as far as the approach toward African descent people than others are, because others are rooted into their comfortable places, so to speak, banks, other educational institutions, etc. So I applaud the entertainment community for doing something to try to balance off that uneven perception of how people see us as a race, as a group of people in these United States of America.
Amazing. So it's going to be a very interesting, educational, informative. It's going to change your views on many things. This series with Imam Hatim and the guests, as he said, experts that he's going to bring on, is going to open our minds as well as our hearts to first understand the systemic racism, and second, to understand what can we do about it, how we can make these United States a better country, a more perfect union, and be able to once and for all get rid of systemic racism, and help us reconcile and live together in peace and love and respect. And hopefully, I'm also interested in how Al-Islam has that significant role in the solution process.
Right.
So that's probably going to come towards the end of the series.
I'm going to pepper it in, but
Okay.
it's because the history is so inundated with all these different times of waves of trauma and this, that, and the other. I think that it would be good to introduce certain concepts that Islam has, the Quran has to offer to address some of these situations, you know. So that's how I see it. I picture it like maybe a flower unfolding,
Yes.
coming into its fruition, and making it a situation where people offering it to people, you know, offering it to my brothers and sisters that are still there. The history behind, you know, Christianity, how it was handed to us after slavery, you know, what went on during that, you know, why weren't we offered the Quran? Because at least 25–30% of all of the slaves were Muslims, you know, and so and the establishment knew that. Why wasn't the Quran offered along with the Bible? You see, all of that was known. It was not unknown. So it was pre-planned.
I look forward to really this wonderful series. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and I want to wish you the best on this series. I look forward to watching it.
Thank you.
And learning from you and your special guests.
Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, I want to also thank you for taking the time to study and increase yourself in knowledge about what our brothers and sisters in the African community have been going through and still go through. And hopefully all together we can do something to improve the situation in this country. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.